Last week, we talked about something most business owners eventually discover. See, decisions keep flowing back to them and questions keep landing right on their desk. And slowly, it starts to feel like the entire company depends on them being present in the room. This week, I want to talk about the real reason that that happens. Most of the time, it isn't a leadership problem. It's a light problem. Last week in the video, I shared a story about my grandson, Joseph, and a heating vent in our house. Small piece of a metronome had fallen down the vent, and Joseph wanted desperately for me to get it out. So we both ended up laying on the floor, looking down inside that vent with a flashlight. If you watch that video, you probably remember what happened. The light did not fix the situation. It didn't magically bring the piece back. All it did was show us what was actually there. The piece was gone. And once Joseph could see that clearly, something pretty interesting happened. He adjusted. There wasn't a big meltdown. There wasn't a long struggle or frustration. He simply accepted the reality of what we were looking at and then moved forward. Now, that moment has stayed with me all week. And it's not because of the vent. It's because I realized how often the exact same thing happens inside companies and how many times I've seen it. Last week, we talked about something that a lot of the leaders eventually notice in their business. We looked at how decisions drift upward, and the decisions come back to the founder. Situations that other people could probably handle somehow land back right in their lap. And most leaders respond to that moment by asking a really practical, common sense question. How do I get my team to make more decisions? But over the years, I've started to realize that question usually comes too late in the game because something else happened first. The room never had enough light. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. Years ago, I was in a business partnership that eventually ended pretty badly. At the time, I couldn't understand why things kept getting tense between the two of us. See, my partner handled all the sales, and I worked closely with the clients once they came into the company. I was meeting with them, guiding them through the work, making sure that they were getting the experience that we had promised at the sales part. But my partner kept telling me something that really, really frustrated me. He kept saying he felt like he was in the dark about what was happening with our clients. Now, that didn't make any sense to me at all. He had complete and full access to everything. All of our meeting notes, all of the action items, every update that happened, the entire record of what we were doing and how it was happening. From my perspective, there was nothing that was hidden. So, eventually, I dug in. And I basically told him, trust me. I said, you go focus on the sales and let me take care of the clients. From where I stood, that felt reasonable. But the tension never really went away. Now, looking back now, I can see something that I completely missed at the time. Neither of us had turned on the light. We were both reacting to the situation that we thought we were in. He thought I was keeping distance. I thought he was refusing to trust me. So we argued around the edges of the problem while the real issue just sat in the dark. And because we never really illuminated the situation, the partnership eventually collapsed under the weight of those quiet assumptions. Now, that experience has also stayed with me ever since because I see the same dynamic show up in leadership teams all the time. Maybe a meeting starts and something unexpected comes up in a report. Or maybe a client, their situation starts to feel strange. The room starts discussing it immediately because we want to solve the problem. Then an idea starts forming. And when ideas form, you know what comes next, right? Opinions about that idea. And then people start reacting to a situation that nobody has actually seen clearly yet. Then eventually someone looks at the leader and asks a really familiar question. So, what do you think we should do? Now, from the outside, that moment can look like leadership doing its job. But sometimes something else has happened first. The room never turned on the light. People were just reacting to fragments instead of to the reality. And when that happens, something predictable will always occur. Uncertainty starts traveling upward, and it lands on the person who appears to have a flashlight. Who's that? It's the leader. But here's the deeper problem that most people don't ever notice. When leaders become the only source of light inside a company, the entire organization slowly becomes dependent on them. It's not because the team is incapable. It's because the team cannot see what the leader sees. The compass exists in one person's head. The interpretation lives in one person's experience. The context lives in one person's perspective. And everyone else is trying to move forward with partial visibility. And when that happens, the hesitation automatically spreads. You'll see it when decisions start to slow down. And you're going to feel it when ownership across the board weakens. Eventually, the company starts feeling heavier for the person who's at the center of it all. Not because the leader is weak, because the light is concentrated in one place. This is one of the biggest leadership design problems that I see in business today. Companies are growing way faster than leaders have time to translate their thinking into something that organizations can actually see. Listen, it's the same for me. Markets move really quickly. It feels like opportunities move quicker than I've ever seen before. We see teams that are expanding really, really fast. But clarity inside the organization does not always expand at the same speed. In fact, it usually doesn't. And when that gap forms, leaders start searching for solutions. Maybe it's time to find the next consultant, or maybe we can fix it by adding some more hires. Let's get some more strategy sessions on board. And for sure, some more tools. But many of those solutions try to solve the pressure without solving the visibility problem underneath it. People are still operating in partial light. This is one of the biggest reasons that leaders' evolution actually exists. It's not to create another place where leaders can come to borrow answers from someone else. It's designed to help leaders do something much, much more powerful. It's to build light into the very structure of their company, so that people throughout the entire organization can see the same reality at the same time. Because once that happens, something remarkable begins to occur in every business. Decisions start landing where they belong. Leaders begin emerging throughout the company, and ownership and accountability spreads out. And the person who started the business no longer has to be the flashlight for every single situation that appears. The light becomes shared. And once that happens, the company starts moving very differently. The flashlight didn't fix the situation in the vent. It just allowed us to see it. But once Joseph could see the truth of it, he adjusted almost immediately. The same thing happens in organizations. When people can see clearly, they usually know what to do next. Yeah, the difficulty might still exist. Probably does. But the confusion around it is gone. And confusion is often what has been draining the energy out of the company all along.